Have you ever made a decision you thought was smart, but the outcome was a total disaster? Maybe you chose a job that sounded perfect or trusted someone who seemed reliable, only to wonder later, what was I thinking? Well, maybe you were thinking, just not in bets. Let me tell you a story about how thinking like a poker player can help you stop judging decisions by outcomes and start making better choices in everyday life. It's 2004. Annie Duke is sitting at the final table of the World Series of Poker. Millions of dollars are on the line. She looks calm, focused. Across from her, a player goes all in. Annie studies the cards, the pot, the probabilities. She calls and loses. But here's the kicker. She made the right decision. In poker, like in life, you can do everything right and still lose. Because there's luck, and then there's skill. Annie's book, Thinking in Bets, is all about separating the two, so you stop beating yourself up over bad results and start improving your thinking. Let's meet Brian. Brian eats fast food every day, doesn't exercise, sleeps 4 hours a night. One day, he wins a free medical checkup. The doctor says he's perfectly healthy. See? Brian laughs. Told you I'm doing fine. Now meet Sarah. She exercises, meditates, eats clean. But one day, she gets hit by a reckless driver while walking and ends up with a broken leg. If you judge their health decisions based only on these outcomes, who looks smarter? Brian? That's the trap of resulting. The mistake of evaluating a decision solely based on how it turned out. We do it all the time. We praise the person who invested in crypto and made a fortune, even if they had no idea what they were doing. And we judge the person who lost money in stocks, even if they followed a sound strategy. But Annie says, you can't control outcomes. You can only control your process. So the real question is, did you think it through like a bet? Imagine this. Every decision you make is a poker hand. You're never 100% sure what your opponent holds. You're playing with incomplete information. So instead of saying, this is definitely the right move, a poker player says, I'm 70% confident this is the right play. Annie urges us to approach everyday decisions like bets by assigning probabilities and acknowledging uncertainty. It's not about being indecisive, it's about being realistic. Should you quit your job? Should you move to a new city? Instead of obsessing over will it work or not, ask, what are the odds? What don't I know yet? What would change my mind? When you think in bets, you learn to embrace uncertainty instead of fearing it, and that's a game changer. Let's rewind to 1999. You tell your friend you're going to invest in a new company selling books, online. She laughs. Books? On the internet? That'll never work. You invest anyway. 10 years later, that company is called Amazon. Now imagine you show her your returns. Would she say, wow, I was wrong, great call? Or would she say, you just got lucky? Here's the thing. Most people care more about being right than getting it right. Annie says we're wired for ego protection, not truth-seeking. When something confirms our beliefs, we accept it instantly. When it challenges us, we fight it. Thinking in bets means choosing accuracy over comfort. It means saying, maybe I was wrong. Let's look closer. Because the smartest decision-makers don't cling to their identity. They update their beliefs, like good poker players who fold when the cards shift. Picture this. You walk into a room of your closest friends. You say, hey, I'm thinking of quitting my job and starting a food truck business. Friend A says, that's crazy. What if you fail? Friend B says, you're amazing. Go for it. But friend C leans in and says, let's look at the numbers. What's your backup plan? Have you talked to anyone in the business? Friend C is your MVP. Because they're not just cheerleading or criticizing. They're helping you think in bets. Annie calls this your truth-seeking group. People who care about helping you make better decisions, not just making you feel good. Surround yourself with folks who ask curious questions, don't jump to conclusions, admit when they were wrong, encourage you to examine your process. Think of it like having a board of advisors for your life. Let's meet Carlos. Carlos wants to start a side hustle. He's got two ideas: a $50,000 food truck or a $500 online baking course. He doesn't know which will work, but instead of waiting for the perfect choice, he makes a small bet on the course. If it fails, he learns fast and loses little. If it works, he scales up. That's the power of small bets. They let you test, learn, and adjust without risking everything. Life isn't about going all in every time. It's about making smart, calculated bets that you can afford and learning from each one. So here's the big shift Annie Duke wants us to make. Stop thinking like life is chess, with one perfect move and full information. Start thinking like poker, uncertain, messy, and full of hidden cards. That means stop judging yourself by outcomes and focus instead on the quality of your decision-making. Think in probabilities, stay open to uncertainty, surround yourself with truth-seeking people, and keep placing small, thoughtful bets. Because in life, it's not about always being right. It's about thinking better, learning, and adapting as the cards are dealt.